Hey guys, today we're going to cover what would definitely be called a first world problem in the car world. I've got a 1985 Ferrari 308 QV and it's got a sticky throttle. Now I notice online that this is pretty common for these cars, and in my car it's because of two things. The throttle cable is a little bit too long, or it's stretched, or I can't adjust it anymore to get it tight. And the throttle body itself is a little bit sticky. So over the course of a couple videos, I'm going to refurbish the throttle body and the intake plenum itself, and also change out the throttle cable. Okay, here inside the cockpit, we're going to take this front piece of the console off, and it's just a couple screws on the bottom. And there are also some screws here for the plastic cover, which needs to come off as well. And now we should be able to just lift up this forward console cover. There we go. That's our connection. Now, I just want to point out that the 85 QV has a different way of accessing the cable compared to the earlier cars. I believe in the earlier cars, you access that through a panel in the undercarriage. But check your model and check things out in the manual, and your mileage may vary. To take this off, first we have to pull the pin out. And that's a matter of pushing this clip down so it snaps out. Sometimes you need a screwdriver to do that. Just pull the pin. Comes out just like that. I've loosened the nut, and now I'm going to unscrew this clevis from the end of the cable and fish the cable back out. Easier to do when you have two hands and you're not shooting with one. Now what you notice is that the throttle cable is hidden underneath the intake plenum. Now in my case, I'm taking the intake plenum off to refinish it, so it's perfect time to change out the throttle cable. All right, and now that that's off, this just pulls up and out. This is the end, and kind of goes into one of the intake runners here. So we're gonna take that off, and this is the old cable which will be coming out. And then we'll get into the spot where the nut hits the head. Then all we have to do is unscrew the end of the throttle cable out of the runner. Now this is loose, I'm just gonna unscrew the end of this. This is the part we'll reuse. Just gonna pull this through the intake. And now we'll start to pull the throttle cable back out through. You can already see some breaks and some ugliness in this cable. It's a good thing we're changing it out. I'm just gonna keep pulling. Here we are under the car. And this is the spot. Let's go into the front. Okay, so this is out. And we can see here the tube where it goes back into the engine compartment. And you can see that that's all through, and then there's this rubber sheath, which we definitely want to keep. Just gonna pull this up through. Once this comes through here, out. Here's the new cable. Comes nicely packaged from a Canby. And first thing I'm going to do is open it up and measure it, make sure it's the same length, because you never know. Well, the two cables are the same length, and here we have the new one right up against the old one. And when it comes time to figuring out where this rubber part goes, I mean, if you push this down a little bit, you can see that there's a pretty heavy-duty discoloration, which is where the tube was before. So we'll just find the same spot on the new cable and put that there. First put this through here, because we know it's got to go through there. And then down the hole, which leads to the undercarriage. And just keep pushing that through. You see, you really don't need a string to get this through. It just kind of goes real easy. I'm just going to bring it to there. This rubber through, and we'll just pull that a little bit more. That's the hole that goes into the pedal cluster, so I'm just going to fish that through. Pretty simple. And just check on the other side and make sure it's through. Hook it all back up, and here it is. made its way through just fine without any string or anything to fish it through. Now I just have to figure out what this is. Now that we've got that set, we're gonna fish this through. Then we have to get this threaded into here. Now, when the intake is on, this thing is almost impossible to get at. So what I'm gonna do is just make this as tight as it can be on this side in terms of distance out, so that I can make the adjustment at the pedal side, which is a lot easier. Also a really good time to clean everything. And we'll just put this hardware back. I'm going to take it pretty much all the way to the bottom. And now on this end, we'll get the nut going first. And then the clevis. I'm going to loosely fit this connector onto the throttle body and just tighten that enough so that it doesn't come off. And then I'll go into the cabin and make sure that everything is tight. Okay, so I have the pin in through the clevis and the throttle lever, and I haven't snapped the safety on yet just to make sure everything is right. Now we'll go in the back and make sure we've got tension. So it looks like there's good tension on the cable. So I think we're in a good place to get everything snugged up. Now once the cable's in, the key is to adjust it correctly. And just a few turns in the adjustment spots can make a huge difference. So you may have to do a little bit of trial and error to make sure that the throttle cable is tight enough, but not too tight to keep the throttle open, or too loose that you get a little lag.